Hey nerds, I'm breaking down episode 6 of Only Murders in the Building, season 4, titled Blow Up. Yet another movie reference, this time Michelangelo Antonioni's 1966 classic Blow Up. Let's see how this experimental episode plays out as our trio inches closer to solving the case. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan. As always, if you want to skip ahead of this intro to my analysis or rating, check the chapter links below. So, the 6th episode of Season 4 should debut on Hulu on October 1st. This episode plays with the typical episode structure and uses a familiar voiceover framing device, but there are some choices that don't entirely land. Let's dive into it. The spoiler-free logline for this episode is a documentary film is made by the Brothers Sisters. This episode is directed by Jessica Yu and written by Rick Weiner and Kenny Schwartz. Blow Up leans heavily into the show's quirky meta elements. It experiments with structure and visual storytelling, though the eccentricities of certain characters, like the Brothers Sisters, may not land for everyone. Alright, let's start breaking down this episode. Spoilers ahead. So the title of this episode is a reference to the 1966 film Blow Up, a British-Italian mystery thriller directed by Michelangelo Antonioni. It's a highly influential film that explores the themes of perception, reality, and existential uncertainty. The movie is based on a short story, La Babas del Diablo, by Julio Cortázar, and it captures the mood of 1960s swinging London. The film follows Thomas, played by David Hemmings, a successful and jaded fashion photographer in London. One day while taking photographs in the park, he captures a series of seemingly innocuous images of a couple. However, upon developing the photographs, he notices something disturbing in the background, what appears to be a body or murder scene. Obsessed with uncovering the truth, Thomas blows up, enlarges the photographs, studying them for clues. So, as I mentioned, this episode starts with an experimental structure. The Brothers Sisters documentary intro. Tawny and Tina brothers introduce the episode as a documentary-style testimony. They frame the events from the perspective of filmmakers, hinting at the chaotic and voyeuristic nature of their storytelling approach. This is the annoyance that I was mentioning in my review, link above if you haven't seen their review. I know this is supposed to be pretentious on purpose, but it just gets tired after the first act. Then we jump to the aftermath of the end of the last episode. So the episode picks up where the previous one ended, with the gunshot during the photo shoot. We see the aftermath through various characters' cameras, phones, security footage, Howard's camera, revealing that Stubbins is shot, Zach is injured but still alive. The trio is confused about the shooter's identity and concerned about their own safety. Then we see them fleeing the scene along with Howard in a cab. They speculate about whether the shot was meant for Oliver and whether Tawny or Trina, brothers, could be behind the shooting. Then we get a scene in the Arconia lobby. The group encounters Uma in the Arconia lobby, who complains about new security cameras. The trio suspects the Brothers Sisters, who are seen filming them as they get on the elevator. Is this the first time we've seen or encountered Uma this season? I feel like we haven't seen many of the residents of the Arconia this season except for Howard. Anyway, safe in Oliver's apartment, the trio discuss their suspicions about the Brothers Sisters and the danger they're in. Oliver becomes emotional about his regrets, particularly his relationship with Loretta, and they start to talk about Charles's regrets. Detective Williams arrives to check on the trio and informs that Glenn and Zach are stable. Glenn is unconscious. Williams also mentions that Dunoff is not in Portugal, but cashing social security checks in New York, which raises further questions about his involvement, given that we were told that he was in Portugal.
Williams also gives Charles Zaz's remains.
This is also the scene where we realize there are secret cameras everywhere. Howard continues filming with his camera, and the group debates attending an emergency production meeting called by Bev Mellon. They decide to go, but Charles plans to search for the rifle case in the production office. Howard makes a reference here about murders on film, which I originally thought was a reference to cell phone camera video of police misconduct, but I think it was actually an oblique reference to the plot of the film Blow Up. Perhaps it was both. Anyway, in the production production office, the trio attend the production meeting with Howard. Mabel speaks with Marshall, who is rattled by the shooting, and they realize that the brothers are not behaving normally. There's some funny bits in here, such as Molly Shannon's Bev Mellon and Charles and Oliver trying to say spill the tea. The trio watch the student film that Marshall suggests, The Desecration of Alice, which hints at their disturbed mindset and connection to Dudenoff. This is also where they notice Vince Fish is in their film. In the next scene, we see the trio visit Vince's apartment, where they learn more about the brother-sister's relationship with Dudenoff. Vince and Rudy reveal that the sisters were obsessed with their professor and might have been doing his bidding, leading to further speculation that they could be involved. Mabel and Oliver continue piecing together the clues about Dudenoff's influence on the sisters and the murders. Mabel's annoyance with the guy's tangents, like their reference here to Moonstruck in this scene, is always funny. Charles sings back and he enlists Vince and Rudy to help him spy on the brother-sister's office using a drone to try to get a view of the case. But the drone crashes when Rudy and Vince get distracted by Charles mentioning that Dudenoff is back in town. Vince and Rudy's reaction here was a bit extreme. I don't know if it had to do with what they were talking about earlier about favoring the sisters, but it was weird. And the next we see Oliver back in his apartment. He makes a phone call to Loretta to propose marriage, but he doesn't get the response he had hoped for. We get a cutaway scene to the set of North Bund where Loretta is covered in bandages for her character unable to talk. Back at Oliver's apartment, the trio discovers that Zaz's remains include 2 left shoulders, indicating that there was another body in the incinerator, adding a second murder to their investigation. So this clue, the discovery of the second left shoulder, points back to what Jan told Charles in the second episode about Zaz's discovery. The trio confront the brothers-sisters in the production office, accusing them of being involved in the murders, and the sisters admit to placing hidden cameras and being deeply devoted to Dudenoff, but they deny being the killers. Instead, they reveal they've been making a documentary and had permission to film everything. It's revealed through a phone call from Detective Williams that the second left shoulder belonged to Dudenoff,
Saying that Dudenoff was dead and someone's been cashing those social security checks.
shocking the sisters. So another clue here that Dudenoff was the other murder in the building. Back at Oliver's apartment, the sisters remove the cameras they placed, and the trio receive videos on their phones from hidden cameras that don't belong to the sisters, showing them being targeted by the real killer. A message from the murderer reveals they have been watching the trio for some time. The way that they send the message could be another clue. It's very weird. It's not sent as a text message. So the episode ends with the trio fleeing their Arconia, realizing they are not safe in the building. The brothers, sisters continue filming them as they run, framing the episode as a found footage film about the murder of their mentor, Dudenoff. That's the end of the episode. All right, I'm going to run down the resolved and unresolved issues or clues in this episode as I have in the past couple of weeks. So the resolve column, we have the trio discovers that Dudenoff was murdered, confirming there were 2 murders in the building, which is what Jan mentioned in episode 2. The brothers sisters confess their devotion to Dudenoff and their hidden camera operation, but deny the murders. On the unresolved section, the identity of the real killer remains unknown, though they continue watching the trio. The motive behind Zaz's murder and Dudenoff's murder is still not clear, and the relationship between the killer and the trio and why they are being targeted is still a mystery. So, have you been watching Only Murders in the Building Season 4? What did you think of Episode 6's experimental structure? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and share and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of film and TV. Alright guys, see you in the next one. Bye.